assessments and management of the mangrove ecosystem in developing countries. Introduction. The sustainability of the coastal and the marine resources and ecosystem is plummeting just when the human population are at the peak of the massive migration to these coastal zones. Coastal zones currently provide living space for some 55% of the world's population. Humans draw heavily on coastal and marine ecosystem for food including aquaculture and shrimp farming, construction site for urban and industrial uses, transportation, recreational and tourist uses and waste disposal. The need for systematically collecting information for evaluating the status and impacts on these habitats is obvious. In tropical areas, mangrove forests are vital for healthy coastal ecosystem. Mangrove left litter detritus provides a principal source of nutrients for the tropic food web and juvenile fisheries. Often exposed to high energy system, mangroves provide protecting habitat as a spawning nursery and the feeding grounds for juvenile fish, crabs, shrimp, and mollusks. Mangrove are also prime nestling site for hundreds of bird species. Traditionally, mangrove ecosystems have been sustainably managed by the local population for the production of food, medicine, tannins, foil, wood, and construction materials. In other words, mangroves offer food, shelter, and livelihoods to millions of coastal dwellers. The protective mangroves buffer zone also help to minimize damage to property and loss of life from storms. While geographical distribution is highly variable, mangroves line approximately 8% of the world's coastline in terms of highland. Naturally, resilient mangrove forests are now being lost through human encouragement. Mangrove forests are among the most threatened habitats on Earth, disappearing at alarming rate with a little public notice. Mangrove forests are disappearing as a result of extraction, oil spills, pollutants, attacks by parasites, and prolonged flooding, and freshwater intrusion, often as a result of artificial dams and coastways. The rapidly expanding sharp aquaculture industry poses a major threat to the world's mangrove. Until recent better ecological understanding, mangrove forests have been classified by many governments as useless swamp of or wasteland. This erroneous designation has made it easier to exploit forests as cheap and unprotected source of a land and for development. There are no global or even regional maps which show the original distribution of the mangroves with sufficient resolution and the degree of confidence to measure the temporal differences of mangrove distribution in mangrove distribution. Threats from number of anthropogenic sources in the region will be examined with this map-based analysis. The study will be undertaken with an eye towards community-based management and management and action. It is anticipated that results will also enable quantification of trends to this ecosystem. And methods. The analysis of mangroves undertaken during the project will comprise the five categories life below. In cooperation with the regional and international partner, institution or regional scale analysis will be undertaken to link human activities with the mangrove habitats conditions and to support protection and conservation priority setting through a systematic data-rich analysis. This approach relies upon incorporating existing information on current threats to the habitats, the condition and characteristics of the habitats and the level of the management and protection afforded this habitat, such as protected areas and regulation coupled with economic and ecological value. Based on maps on mangrove locations have been published in the World Mangrove Atlas. Location and status of management. The project also involves spatial and statistical analysis of the integrated data sets. This analysis will rely on detailed local area modeling of the relationship between socioeconomic activities and mangrove forest conditions, but will also permit model implementation over wider area. All data integration and model results will be evaluated and revised based upon scientific review and workshop held in the region. Evaluation of threats to mangrove. The analysis will incorporate information about specific mangrove area within the geographical coverage. The following elements will be emphasized. And first, information from experts and existing management monitoring programs about the location and condition of the mangroves. Second, information of the type and the size, including historical information. And the last, information on biological diversity, species richness, and endemisms would be incorporated at the highest resolution possible. Documentation and modeling of ecosystem protection. Threat will be examined through the development or refined decisions rules using high-resolution data sets to reflect threat and a socioeconomic background information to provide context to the different threats. Threats to mangrove include but are not limited to inland pollution and marine oil spills, overharvesting, aquaculture and shrimp farming development, flooding, refresh water or dam, causeways development, residential commercial development, instruction for charcoal and construction materials use. The distance rules define threat zone around the habitat. Zone of high, medium, and low threat will be estimated for each of the threat factors and combine its spatial overlay with a data set reflecting the location and the habitat. Policy and management recommendation. Currently, information on management, protection, and conservation of mangrove is poor. Particularly, the socioeconomic impacts on the communities are overlooked or inadequately addressed. A rich and more detailed data set on management, including institutional arrangement, participatory approaches, locations, extent, and effectiveness, will be developed in conjunction with the local partners. This data layer is invaluable for examination of conservation priorities. Additionally, information on coastal zone management and other policies relevant to the pressures on coral reefs and mangroves will be integrated. The last, dissemination of information and awareness raising. The study will be recommended policies, participatory approaches and management strategy to promote integrated coastal ecosystem protection. Management measures to protect and conserve mangrove forests will be enhanced through recommended of alternative management strategies. The result, coastal habitats at risk will undertaken standards assessment of anthropogenic threats to mangrove in the East and Southeast Asia. The GIS-based tool will be examine different coastal development and the management scenarios and their implication for mangrove health, diversity, and value. Threats from pollution, overharvesting, aquaculture development, boating, shipping, flooding, freshwater, freshwater sanitation, and other coastal development will be examined with a map-based analysis. The study is intended to help fill information void through in-depth policies guidance or management and priority setting. The study will be particularly emphasize on gathering information regarding the human element of this ecosystem. The study will recommend policies, participatory approaches, and management strategies to promote integrated coastal ecosystem protection. The result of this study will be used an indicator to potential threat risk, not a measure of actual condition. In some places, particularly where good management is practiced, mangrove forests may be at risk but remain relatively healthy. The most important impact of the coastal habitat at the risk will be long-term through improvements in the conservation and protection of the mangrove forest in East and Southeast Asia. Awareness about the ecological importance and threats to mangrove will be increased among the public policy makers, environmental officials, and managers, NGOs, the scientific community, and international leading and the development institution, foundations, and other funding organizations. The project is anticipated to lead improvement to mangrove in priority, setting discussions, making and donor coordination for conservation, protection, and research. This improvement will be benefit national and local government to the region, international leading and development into institution and donor institution for this ecosystem. Management measures to protect and observe mangrove forest will be enhanced through the recommendation of the alternative management strategies such as ecosystem-based management, co-management, property rights, regimes, and adaptive management. Most importantly, this study will contribute to livelihood security the people of dependent on mangroves. Most importantly, this study will contribute to livelihood security of the people independent of mangrove. It is anticipated that the local coast study will be quantify the worth and the success of the community-based approach for the conservation and protection. As a significant component of the project will be devoted to this dissemination of the key findings of the project to the target audience identified earlier. This will be achieved primarily in three ways. First, the workshop and the regional conference included in the project will be explicitly involve local communities. This will be enhance the level of awareness of the general public and scientific community alike. Secondly, more conventionally approaches of this mission, this is dissemination, including books, workshop, proceedings, CD-ROM, and internet distribution will be fully utilized. Thirdly, a major public campaign will be accompany that first two. Full color brochures and handbooks will be useful in the last approach. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you and have a good day.